Hey folks, welcome back to our series of lectures on business organizations. This is the second of our lectures, and today we're going to talk about sole proprietorships. But I want to remind you that we are broadcasting from the haberdashery at the studios of WCLG this afternoon. Come on down and take a look at the hat collection. There's hats on sale. As I mentioned, they're paying me a paltry promotional fee to advertise their hats. Don't you think this is a very nice looking hat? It's from Australia. You too can have one of these. Anyway, going back to sole proprietorships. A sole proprietor is one person who owns the business. They can be in the business with their spouse, their children, employees, family, whoever, but one person owns it. Now the book says that more than 2/3 of the businesses in the United States are sole proprietors, and that most of those sole proprietors have revenues of less than $1 million per year. So they are the definition of small business, but together they probably employ more people than all of the big businesses in the country put together. Well, maybe before the virus, anyway. It's a way to start your business. Cheap, inexpensive, and not too complicated. It's a way to find out if you like your business, if you're going to make a go of it, if you can do what you want to do. You don't need to fill out any forms to get started except maybe a fictitious name registration, which we'll talk about in our next lecture, and maybe get a city or county business license. For example, in Napa County, you need a business license in the city of Napa, but you do not need one in the county of Napa. Now, what are the advantages for doing a sole proprietor? Well, let's take a look at a few of them. You may guess that we're going to put the disadvantages over on this side. Okay. First advantage is that you own all of the business. Just you, nobody else. That means there's a great deal of flexibility because you're the only person you have to consult. So you have to, you know it, flexibility, well, we'll pretend that's spelled right. You get all the profits. You pay your own taxes on your tax return. You don't need a separate tax return like you do for corporations or partnerships. And you get to do everything on your own, all right? It's just yourself. You don't have to worry about other people. Okay, but let's take a look at some of the disadvantages. Just like you own all of the profits, you own all of the losses as well. They're all yours. And indeed, not only are your business assets at risk if something happens, your personal assets are at risk. So if the business goes down and you have some loans or you owe people money, they can come after you and come after your business, not only your business assets, but your personal assets, like your home and your savings account. It's hard to raise capital. It's tough to get money. People don't like to loan money to sole proprietors. And when the business is dissolved, the business dies. If you die, the business dies with you. Now, that may not be as terrible as it sounds, because I have seen examples where a spouse was a sole proprietor and died owning the business, and the other spouse just stepped right in and continued running it. And it's possible. But there's no continuity of the business like it is with an LLC or a corporation. So those are the few advantages and disadvantages of the sole proprietorship. Remember, it's easy and cheap to start, so that's why most people start that way. easy and cheap. And then at some point later on, they may go into a different form of doing business when they know the business is going to go, and then they know that they have some money to do it. All right? We'll talk about fictitious name registrations in our next lecture in this series on business organizations. Thanks. I'm going to turn it